was able to correct my path. Hi, cutie.
Hello. When did you start? Keto kitty.
Yes. Keto and low carb's great for pets too.
Okay. Well, we have a third guest. Hello
That's
there.
Adorable. I love cats, so we have 2 cats.
Perfect.
And yeah.
Well, they can have.
Yeah.
Yes, but say when you got started, like what? Ouch. What were those measures you took? Like, one sits down, starts googling, or how do you get? Like, say if I have a problem and I know that I need to do something about it, what is the first steps I am going to do?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is right now there's so many great resources out there. When I got started in this, there really wasn't much out there, so I really had to go on these obscure forums. I had to go on Reddit and find these obscure threads on bodybuilding forums, like what is this keto thing? And these were the people who were on the leading edge, who were experimenting with these different modalities, and so that's where you would find information. Now, thanks to incredible publishers like my publisher Victory Belt, who also publishes Maria's books, and you're probably familiar with a lot of the books. There's all these resources out there. There's all these events, conferences, blogs, and the social media. I have so many doctors constantly talking about how, where would we be if it wasn't for the social media? Because so many of their patients come to them and say, I found this, I revolutionized my health, I changed my entire, journey or path that I was on because I found this woman on Instagram who was talking about keto for epilepsy. And because of that, I've transformed my own, health, and I no longer have seizures. And it was all because of social media. So there's all these incredible resources out there now. There's all these incredible authors, books. I mean, it's a lot easier to do now. And YouTube, also podcasts. Like, when I started, there wasn't any of this stuff. And it's amazing now. It gives me so much hope for the future because there are so many incredible resources. And you guys, I mean, your website is like the #1 out there for finding this kind of information, and with credible sources and physicians and everything. And you guys do so much great work. So, thank you for doing what you do. And it's invaluable for so many people out there.
Thank you. That's really it's great to hear. But also, I think like you, sort of like a one-woman army. You do so much. It's not just the knowledge. Say the recipes, the meal plans. You have your own little community. How can you manage all that?
I don't know.
And now you're also studying.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are going on.
Yes, I would love to, I probably need to grow a little bit more and grow the company. I have a lot of help, a lot of freelancers that help me out with the business, but now that I'm studying, full-time and studying biochemistry, it's very intense, and so I probably need to grow the team a little bit more so that I can keep doing what I'm doing at the level that I have been, because I have had no life outside of this for the past several years. I work, 7 days a week, 24 hours, and even when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming about my clients and stuff. So, but I love it. So there's a passion and a drive, but I know that in order to keep up with all of this in the coming years, like, I'll probably need to, grow the team and expand and do that so that I can keep it up, because I love getting to do it. It's such a privilege and honor to get to do what I do. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and I'd like to start a family at some point and have a life outside
Priorities.
of this too. Yeah.
But then let's talk a little bit about food. So you have a
favorite topic.
All our favorite topics. You have a lot of tons of delicious recipes.
Thank you.
And meal plans. How do you create them, or what are your sort of criteria of bringing these?
I mean, the cool thing is, when you're doing it for yourself at first, I was creating all these things out of necessity because I needed to have them there were some resources out there that I could find, but you know, if I wanted to create something, some kind of food, like say in my cookbook I have like pad thai, keto pad thai. Pad thai is like one of my all-time favorite foods. I grew up in Asia. I absolutely love it. I was like, I need to make this so that I can have it keto version in a healthy way. And ever since I was little, I loved taking restaurant meals and making them healthy at home. It was always something that I loved doing. So the fact that I was able to create something like a fettuccine alfredo that you can have every day of the week, or, you know, like lemon chicken or some of these things that I always loved having, but, you know, eggs Benedict, I always felt like this was such a rich, decadent indulgence. And the fact that you can actually make these versions taste just as good, be as healthy, be even healthier, be contributing to your health instead of taking away from it. You know, it's just something that I personally loved doing. And because there weren't a lot of those things around, I had to do it as a necessity. Okay.
Now things are getting out of hand here.
This kitty is just taking over. Okay, go. I love it.
Go.
Oh, sorry. Adding some entertainment. But yeah, a lot of what I've done has just been out of pure necessity, because I didn't have all those things. If I was starting now, who knows, maybe I wouldn't even build the business, because there's so many great resources out there. I could just get all these cookbooks. Ironically, I get cookbooks free in the mail all the time now from my publishers to review our other authors, which is amazing. But yeah, a lot of it just came from the fact that I wanted to be able to have these foods and in a way that was healthy, sustainable, and so I had to do it for myself, and then I was able to, you know, share it with other people too.
And now with the holidays approaching, yes. Thanksgiving is around the corner, and then Christmas is also one step away. How do you make that sustainable? And what are your, say, best tips for others too?
Yeah, I love this question. I think it's so important, and I'm someone that tends to get very overwhelmed at the holidays, or I used to, because you're around so many people. You're around relatives, you're in really kind of, it's a very joyous time, but it's also very stressful in a lot of ways. So one of my things that I do now is really, there's a lot of mental preparation to this, and I try to focus on what are the things that I love the most about all these people that I'm going to be around over the holidays. What are the things that I love the most about them, so that I can really focus on bringing those out. And I think that is really half of it, is so many people are getting stressed out by the fact that they're around all their family members and relatives who may or may not be judging them and their choices. And then to also bear in mind not to judge anyone else and what they're doing. So at our holiday, my husband's family, that's where we're spending it this year, we make a regular version of everything, and then we make low carb and keto versions, and everyone can just choose what they want. And I think it brings a really nice balance, because someone will say, well, I'll have the keto sauerkraut that doesn't have the sugar in it, and then maybe I'll have like the, you know, chocolate dessert that does have sugar. And so everyone's kind of feeling good, maybe a little bit better about some of their indulging. And then we always do a family walk after dinner. All of us go out with like our nieces and everyone, and we do a really nice walk after dinner. So there's lots of healthy habits in there. In my cookbook in Keto Essentials, I have a section on creating a holiday table, which has like a keto sausage stuffing. It has all those kind of favorite things that you're used to having over the holidays, but low carb and keto versions. And I always make sure to have keto and low carb treats around for me, because I know that like I love to make candied spiced pecans and nut brittle, and I love to put them in mason jars and give them as gifts, especially to anyone in my family or friends who are like into keto and low carb. But also just having that around means that when those sugary treats and things like candy canes and, you know, all those, you know, chocolates and things that we're used to having and indulging in are around, I don't feel stressed by them, because I have, you know, these other options.
That's great. And you've had your talk yesterday, and you mentioned it was pretty interesting about the keto fatigue, which at first when I heard of that, I thought it was going to be something else, but then it turned out to be a very serious issue. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
I
think keto fatigue also comes out especially around probably
the holidays.
Even
oh
more
yes,
than usually.
it's a very important, public service announcement that for everyone to know, keto fatigue may be affecting you or your loved ones. It affects my husband, my parents, in-laws, and it's called keto fatigue, and it's characterized by having a close friend or family member who just can't stop talking about keto, and you're, feeling guilty all day by, the sugar that you ingested that day, while you hear another rant about the dangers of sugar and, big food and big pharma, and it's just a very important, condition to know about because it is rampant, especially here this weekend.
Yes. What are your plans going forward? Like, now we heard that you're studying and there's tons of work to do with Ketogenic Girl.
Yes.
As a brand, I guess. Maybe now as you grow you need to rename it to Ketogenic Girls or something.
Yeah, I have thought. I've been, putting more and more thought into that. Right now my prime focus is growing my knowledge of biochemistry, of anatomy, of physiology, because it helps me to convey these concepts in a better way. I'm working on my second book right now, sequel to Keto Essentials, so this studying is also helping me, convey some of these topics in new ways to people. And I was speaking here this weekend about glucagon, which is the hormone that I am making it my mission for everyone to know and love, because it is the fat-burning hormone. And everyone always talks about insulin and the importance of insulin, and insulin is the fat-storing hormone. What we want to focus on is, insulin's that bad guy. Glucagon is the good guy. Glucagon is the one that, when you're in that post-absorptive state, you're burning all this fat, you're generating ketones, you're in ketogenesis, so I love getting to communicate science and the science of our hormones and endocrine system, and so I love learning more about it and studying it, and that's why it's so valuable, even though it's very challenging to be studying it right now. I'm going back to school to do a postgraduate degree in science, and I absolutely love it. I'm really loving it. It's very challenging, it's extremely rewarding, it's learning a whole new language, but I think it's just going to be really valuable for the years to come. So that's my main focus now, and just continuing to spread the word with people like you who give me opportunities like this to talk about low carb and keto, because I really think there's nothing better for us as a society than, real food as medicine in the prevention of disease, because the disease rates have been growing at such an alarming rate. It's the most effective thing we can do to reduce disease on a global level, prevent modern non-infectious chronic disease, and it's by spreading the message in the face of keto fatigue. Yes. And those glazing over the eyes, and that, yawning and boredom by our loved ones around us, because we can't stop talking about this, but it's really important because we care about the people in our lives, and we don't want, them to get sick or to have to lose their dignity dealing with conditions and things when, we have this viable solution, and it is just replacing a lot of sugar processed foods with real whole foods. So I'm really passionate about it.
Yes, and we love that. Well, thank you so much, and wish you a lot of luck. Probably you don't need it, but more like patience for your studies. Yes. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now we're off to petting some cats.